morning, everyone, and welcome to our March 2016 customer webinar. Today, Wes Farris, the TownNews.com IQ program manager, will introduce the all-new IQ standard tier, designed to help sites of all sizes use data to extract superior results from their programmatic and remnant campaigns. We're going to talk about trends in programmatic, a little bit of background, where the market stands and where it's going, how to instantly boost CPMs on your unsold inventory using the data you already have on hand, and how TownNews.com IQ standard makes programmatic advertising easy and affordable, and most importantly, how you can get started. We also have Teresa Nelson, Director of Business Development, and Paige Ruba, Marketing Specialist, on hand today. I'm Aaron Gillette, Marketing Director at TownNews.com. We'll cover the formal presentation in about 30 minutes, after which we'll take questions. At any point during the presentation, you can type a question into the chat box, but we'll hold off on answering them until the end of the show. With that, take it away, Wes.
Thanks, Aaron. Appreciate it. So, today, as Aaron said, we just kind of want to really touch on kind of what the IQ standard program is, how it's going to kind of instantly boost your guys' revenues and your CPMs from that standpoint. So, really, the TownNews IQ standard program is going to be focused on your guys' unsold inventory, that inventory that you are not selling directly via your local sales staff. We have found that there are huge opportunities in that space to generate immediately higher CPMs to get you guys immediately more revenue with very, very little effort and resources on your end. So, we're really going to talk about where the market started today, how that TownNews IQ program can immediately take advantage of the trends in the marketplace, and how it's really a low risk and affordable opportunity to you guys with no real risk involved, a low risk, high reward type of proposition. So, I think it's first and foremost important to differentiate between what remnant advertising is and what programmatic advertising is. So, the TownNews IQ program is really designed to take advantage of programmatic advertising. And what's really been in the market and the technology that's been around for a while is remnant advertising, which is what I'm assuming most of you guys are doing. And remnant advertising is really just kind of, it's age technology, and it's really designed to just ensure that no matter what happens, your unsold inventory is fulfilled. There's no real optimization on it. We're talking minimum CPMs, not always the best advertisers and the best ads, and no real targeting available. These are going to be your AdSenses of the world and your typical ad networks that, again, their only real priority is going to be making sure that every impression is monetized. But again, with this technology being aging, it's really not maximizing your guys' unsold, maximizing publishers' unsold inventory. So what the IQ program does is it really is designed to take the remnant advertising for your unsold inventory and turn it into programmatic. And what programmatic is, how we differentiate it from remnant, is it's a significantly more sophisticated technological channel to monetize your unsold inventory. What it does above and beyond what remnant providers do is it creates a sort of mini stock market, shall we say, where it allows thousands of advertisers to essentially bid in a bidding process. And the highest bidder is going to win that user and that ad impression. And with that, with this significantly more sophisticated, growing and evolving technology, it lends us to really leverage optimizing these unsold inventory. It allows us for advanced targeting capabilities. So, these publishers or these advertisers are bidding on the user. They're bidding essentially on the eyeballs that they're going to show that ad impression to. So the better we can position our publishers to provide data about those users, to pass information to these advertisers in this programmatic channel, the more information that TownNews can give the publisher and then educate the advertisers on, the higher the CPMs that we can receive. So, as you can see by that graphic, if we're able to tell these programmatic channels and to these advertisers that the ad impression that is available is a male who is 24 years old and is a Democrat leaning towards voting for Bernie Sanders, for example, that would, as you can imagine, would be hugely valuable to the advertisers, to the ad agencies. So this new channel is really what TownNews IQ is leveraging above and beyond remnant to generate really the highest CPMs that we possibly can for you guys passively. So, you know, and with that information, we went and we pulled our publishers and we heard the same thing, that they need higher CPMs, higher rates for their unsold inventory. They're just getting killed there. Many of our publishers for their remnant inventory are getting CPMs under $1. So we set out to create a program that is designed to really increase that. And just an idea to give you guys an idea of how quickly the programmatic marketplace is growing. In 2014, $10 billion was spent in this marketing channel. In 2015, that raised about 50% to $15 billion. And as you can see, that growth is expected to continue to just exponentially grow, to where by 2016, over $21 billion is projected to be spent in this space, and by 2017, almost $27 billion. So you can see that this is rapidly growing, and it's not going to go away. So TownNews, we wanted to better position our publishers so that our publishers are better positioned to take advantage of this new market and to really get ahead in the industry, to make sure that they're best prepared as possible to leverage this growth opportunity and this market opportunity. So with that, the TownNews IQ program was really born. And the TownNews IQ program is powered, is powered by our DMP. And what a DMP stands for is a data management platform. And essentially, what that is it's going to allow us to collect information about your users as they go across your site. So as they exhibit specific behaviors, consume specific content, engage in specific activities, they take part in a poll, they fill out a form, they take part in a contest, they read about financial information, they look at a used Ford 150 for under $10,000, they're in the market for a home, they're logging in, they're liking, they're sharing. These are all essentially data points that we collect and associate back to that user via the DMP. And what we do with that data is we then use it for monetization in this programmatic space. So what we'll do is we'll take your unsold inventory and we'll take the data that we've collected on your site, which is owned by the publisher, it's owned by you guys, and we'll say in this channel, hey, national advertisers, I know that this user loves football or loves college basketball and is a young male. You know, with it being March Madness, there's probably a lot of advertisers doing promotions around March Madness. They would probably very much like to show their ad in front of the target audience that's most likely to engage that ad. So if we're able to tell these national advertisers that are bidding for every single impression that this user is somebody that is very likely to respond to your promotion, they're going to pay more and pay a higher CPM to reach that one user than if it was just, say, a remnant type deal where they don't know anything about the user. It's kind of a shot in the dark. They're just buying the eyeballs and hoping they're reaching the right people. This allows us to be much more sophisticated, and in doing so, by creating the right infrastructure, creating the right environment, we're able to command higher CPMs from our advertisers because they're willing to pay more for better data. And an important distinction within this DMP as well is our ability to identify users across devices. So it is extremely valuable and advantageous from the advertiser standpoint to be able to send their message to a user no matter what device they're consuming content on. But as you can imagine, it's very, very hard to identify that one user across their phone, across their tablet, across their desktop. I mean, just to give you an example, I think me personally, I have 7 devices between my work devices and my personal devices. So what we've done with our data management platform technologies is we're actually able to sync that user, that single user across devices, so that no matter where that user is consuming content, the advertiser is able to reach that customer. No longer having to only be able to reach them on desktop, only be able to reach them on the tablet. We're now able to follow that user across devices so that the advertiser is never missing them. And as you can imagine, That's a hugely valuable proposition, and another reason, another way we're able to generate these higher CPMs for your unsold inventory in the programmatic space. I think it's an important note to distinguish exactly how we go from collecting the data to where we are then monetizing it from a technological standpoint, from a high level. So, what we're looking at now is really just kind of the data flow, and I think that this really speaks to the ease in which we can onboard, implement, and immediately start leveraging the DMP for you guys. So the first real step in the DMP process, in the DMP data flow process, is going to be data collection. So TownNews has already put all the pipes in place, in fact. So all we need to do is, if you wanted to take part in this program, is we're able to easily and simply place a single line, just a one line of JavaScript code tag across the header of your website, which will now allow us to immediately start collecting data. So that is our data collection tag. It's just one line of JavaScript code. It's not going to slow your site down, but will allow us to immediately start collecting data. From there, what the TownNews.com IQ team does is we then organize the data into data sets that we think will be valuable to these programmatic advertisers. And I'll get into exactly kind of what we've seen so far, but what it eventually comes down to is our team is constantly seeing which data sets, which audiences these advertisers are paying the most for, and then we're building data strategies around that. So I may take, for an example, all of the baseball lovers, the basketball lovers, and the football lovers, just as an easy example, and I may aggregate them into one giant sports lover segment, so that we have good data that relates, as well as so we have good volume as well, so that we can pass as much information as we possibly can. So the TownNews team is constantly optimizing and organizing these data sets that come in to make sure that we're getting, again, the highest CPMs that we can possible. From there, what we do, and again, this is all passively done by TownNews, so this is no real burden on the publisher side, no real resources that they have to allocate here. But we will then, once we've set up the ad ops tags to where you guys are passing us a portion of your inventory, we will then utilize that data, we will activate it, and where we're really monetizing our data is in Google Ad Exchange. So I know obviously you guys are all familiar with Google. They have an industry-leading ad exchange. And what an ad exchange is essentially what we've been talking about. It's a programmatic channel. In this ad exchange environment is where it connects with thousands of different advertisers, and these advertisers are bidding for every single impression. AdX is hooked up with is connected with the most premium, prominent, respectable organizations out there. Google obviously takes a lot of pride in that. So, which is why we chose to partner with Google and their ad exchange. So we're leveraging the Google Ad Exchange network to connect to these premium programmatic partners. It's an important distinction point to differentiate between different types of data sources as well. So the DMP is going to allow us to collect first-party data. So any data that is collected off your site is owned by you. It is owned by the publisher. It is your data. It's not TownNews's. It's not anybody. It belongs to you. And the reason why that is so valuable is because what advertisers are craving in this current market is good first-party data. Third-party data has kind of been out there for a while. Essentially, there's companies like Blue Kai, like Axiom, these data aggregation companies, and what they do is they aggregate data. Across thousands of different sources. And while advertisers were buying into that for a while, they're now very much more so gravitating towards first-party data. Because the problem with third-party data is it's not transparent. They don't know where the data came from. It's coming from thousands of different sources. So as you can imagine, it's muddied. It's not always the best data. With first-party data, the advertisers are dealing directly with the publisher they're buying the inventory from. They're dealing directly with the publisher that they're getting the data from. So they're dealing with one source. It's one data source. It's better data. And what we're seeing is they're willing to pay a premium for that first-party data over third-party data. So we think that that's hugely valuable as well. By leveraging the DMP, we're able to collect quality first-party data which we see that advertisers are willing to pay good CPMs for. The last point of distinction is second-party data. So what we're actually doing within our standard IQ program is any participating publisher, what we're actually doing is we're aggregating all of the first-party data that we've collected across the TownNews.com IQ network. Because by aggregating the data, we can then collect even more information on any given user. For example, maybe one publisher specializes on political content and another publisher specializes in finding out if they're in market for cars or real estate. By aggregating the data across our customers, we can create a more complete picture. And the two things that advertisers are looking for in this space are good volume, they want to buy in bulk, and good first-party data. So we feel that we provide the best of both worlds. By aggregating this data, we're doing exactly that. We're providing them great first-party data, and we're providing them good volume to buy impressions in bulk. And we think that gives us a great leverage on the sell side from that standpoint. So really what TownNews does behind the scenes, once we see all that data is collected, is we then structure it. We organize it, as I kind of mentioned on before. So, what I've listed for you guys right now is some kind of example segments that we've seen early on generate extremely generous CPMs on that unsold inventory. Subscribers who log on, news junkies. Our thinking behind that is these are incredibly engaged users. These are users that are going to sites and they're not bouncing. They're spending a lot of time on the site and they're very engaged. So advertisers are more likely to actually get the users to engage, to consume that content, to consume that message that advertisers are trying to reach. Any type of political information, obviously hugely valuable with the election cycle going up. We're going through a pretty historic election cycle with the amount of money to be spent in digital expected to outpace by far any amount of money spent on an election in the past. So any type of voter information that we can expose into this space, the agencies that represent these candidates and the super PACs that represent these candidates are going to pay big money to be able to reach those independents, those undecided voters, and things like that. And then finally, another great one, auto intender. The OEMs are requiring that the dealerships spend at least half of their budget in digital, and that money is increasingly, I'm sure as you guys know, going towards programmatic, going towards this channel. So the better we can position you guys to have good data about auto information, to be able to take advantage of that, I think the better position that everybody will be in the long run to succeed and monetize that. And a great point Teresa just made as well, healthcare. Healthcare is hugely valuable because there's a lot of compliance issues around healthcare. So another good point that goes back to the third-party data provider, where there's a lot of laws and regulations about healthcare. So it's very hard to gather good healthcare data. So, but because we're collecting on a first-party basis, we're able to better provide that information to these advertisers. So that's another channel that we think is hugely opportunistic is healthcare. So I'm sure this obviously the slide that everyone's probably been waiting for. I'm sure is kind of our early returns for the program. So I have been the IQ program manager since its inception. We've now onboarded over 250 domains. We're collecting information on over 60 million users. So we are really, really hit the ground running. But we're still kind of in our early phases, as we call our crawl walk phase, in terms of seeing our returns. But the early numbers in terms of CPMs have been extremely encouraging. For some of those niche audiences that we're exposing into this channel, the healthcares of the world, the politicals of the world, we've seen CPMs go for as high as $6.50. Now, obviously, that's not going to be every single unsold impression. That's going to be a very small snippet because it's going to be a highly targeted niche audience. But we're starting to see CPMs compete with local CPMs, which was pretty exciting to see. On average, across the ad exchange, we're averaging right around $2 to $3. So I mean, from what we polled of our publishers groups that are primarily using Remnant, the AdSenses of the world, they were typically around under $1 or $1. So the lists that we're seeing in ad exchange are anywhere from 100% to 200% increase in that CPM paid out. And again, other than a very, very small amount of onboarding on the ad hoc side, this is pretty much entirely passive revenue for you guys, where you get kind of an invoice or a credit on your invoice every month, where we're going to bring you guys more money than you were getting before, and it's really not going to be a whole lot of effort on your guys' end to have to take advantage of this. And then additionally, so that's really our first step is our standard IQ program. Take advantage of programmatic. We feel it's the low-hanging fruit. It's an immediate kind of return. We get you guys set up. We collect that data for about 30 days, so we can collect a good amount of information, and we immediately go live, and we'll see those higher CPMs right away. But we also, just to make you guys aware, we have a more sophisticated, more advanced DMP program as well, kind of called our enterprise program, which then takes it one step further and really then allows you to use that audience data to target local campaigns. And if you're doing audience extension, so if you have a DSP and you're buying ad impressions on behalf of some of your advertisers. So our more, the programmatic is the first step, but then we really see, if it's the right fit, moving up into a more advanced level program where you're then leveraging it for local on your own and operated for buying data, and then it really becomes, you guys can mark up your CPMs for those impressions however you want. It can really be used as a cost-saving tool if you are leveraging third-party data, because audience targeting is a very, I think, an important thing that publishers should be offering. So it could be a great cost-saving tool from that standpoint as well. And then additionally, we're looking at powering this DMP data for content recommendations as well. So these are all in the pipeline as well. So that I just wanted to make you guys aware of as well. The focus right now is going to be on on that programmatic CPMs. But if you guys have any level of interest in learning more about the more sophisticated IQ program where it's being leveraged for local as well, we can talk about that at a different time as well. But I just wanted to make you guys aware. But the standard tier program, so at the end of the day, what we're going to do, just to give you again a quick recap, is we're going to collect that user data on your site, but from then we're going to manage all that audience data for you. We're going to aggregate the data across our publishers to where it makes sense, and we're creating audience segments that are valuable, and then we're going to then leverage that audience data to get you guys higher CPMs for your unsold inventory. So what we do is we pass you some ad tags to feed your inventory to our DSP AdX, and then from there it's right off to the races, and we can start almost immediately. The only real load time is about a 30-day window that we want to collect. We want to give the DMP to collect data. So it takes about 30 days to get a good snapshot of your user base. So while that 30-day time period is going on, our team will work to onboard you guys from the ad hoc standpoint. But this again, as I mentioned early on, we really designed to not only be a revenue generator for you guys, but also allow you to free up some resources, because we acknowledge that in many cases publishers are strapped with resources. They're not able to devote resources to new initiatives. So this one is really designed to let TownNews.com handle it for you guys. There is no monthly cost associated with this. It is just a straight revenue split of 85-15. So 85% of all revenue, 85% of the net revenue is going to the publisher, with TownNews just taking 15%. The only associated cost to this program is a one-time setup fee of $500 to cover our costs and resources in terms of onboarding. Most of our publishers, depending on how many impressions that they send our way, we do ask for a minimum of 100,000, but most publishers are recouping that setup fee depending on the number of impressions that they pass within the first month, or the first couple, 2-3 months. But that all will depend on the number of impressions you guys pass, but they're recovering it very quickly. So that's really kind of right there. That's the standard program. Just to recap again, some big takeaways. We feel incredibly strongly that programmatic is a growing market, and it's not going away. We envision this growing, and as you can see via the forecast, huge dollars are expected to be spent there. With the TownNews IQ program, we really want to take that first step to have you guys be able to take full advantage of that. of that opportunity so that you can get ahead of the industry, get ahead of where the industry is going. From an early return standpoint, the results have been incredibly encouraging in terms of what the payout we're seeing. And additionally, something something I didn't mention as well is we would even be willing, on a monthly basis to have a monthly standing call with you guys, with the publisher, to go over the data that we've seen, go over trends. A lot of times that DMP data is going to have good information for your editorial staff to know when are people consuming content, when aren't they consuming content, when's the best time to reach them, what type of content maybe are we short on. So, there's a lot of value within the IQ program, obviously beyond just the monetization, but obviously that's the focus.
At this point, we'll take
so we can open it up to questions at this point.
Yeah, if that works. We do have a few questions that have come in already. A question about the data collection across devices. This person would like to know, do they have to be logged in for you to collect data across devices? How can you talk a little bit more about how that's accomplished?
Sure. So that's a great question. So what we call it deduping, and the way that we're deduping is there's going to be various different methods that we're going to do that. The first and foremost is going to be if we see similar logins across devices. So we've actually partnered with for our DMP with Lotame, who has eyes all over the internet, and they're able to see if people log into a shared, they are able to log into an account across devices. So say if you log into Facebook on your desktop, and then 2 weeks later you log into Facebook with that same login on your mobile device, we're actually able to see that and see, okay, this is actually the same user, so we can make that synchronization. Another way that's going to happen is going to be GPS based. So if the phones have GPS, enabled in their devices, which in today's market nearly every device has some type of GPS, in the hardware, the software. If we see that the GPS is always very, very closely together, so it's always within a certain radius of each other, these devices are always closely connected, then we'll make the synchronization there as well. IP address will also come into play there to a lesser extent because IP is not as accurate as GPS, but we'll also we'll look at the behaviors that you exhibit across sites, the content that you're consuming, the sites that you go to, if you're submitting information about yourself, your name, things like that. What that's called is kind of a probabilistic match. So it's run through an algorithm, and if we're able to determine within a confidence of, say, a confidence of 95% that that's the same user, we'll make that synchronization there. So there's many different ways that we're making that synchronization. They don't have to log on to your site directly, as long as we're able to see across the internet at some point they logged into a shared device or logged into a shared account, or they're exhibiting those behaviors, or they're always close. The devices are also closely connected, or they're on the same Wi-Fi network or the same IP network. Then we may make a synchronization there as well.
Great. I think you pretty much covered this, but it's probably worth reiterating. I'm assuming there's a cost for publishers to use the IQ program. What is the cost to use, and will that cost go up for the programmatic upgrade?
No. So, the programmatic that's the program. So, our goal was to take the remnant that you guys are kind of getting now, because we feel that most of our publishers are probably in the remnant game because it's, programmatic, it's a sophisticated operation. So that's all what it is. It's it's leveraging it in the programmatic channel. There are no monthly costs associated. It's an 85-15 revenue split. So real no risk for you there. The only upfront cost to the publisher is going to be that $500, one-time $500 setup fee. But again, we're seeing that recouped very quickly.
Is it possible to use to collect detailed user data without utilizing IQ using TownNews instead of a third-party data collector?
Short answer would be no there. So our TownNews IQ program is our DMP program. The IQ program is built around the DMP. So if you were interested in leveraging the DMP in different unique standpoints, we could always have probably an offline conversation about that. But the DMP is going to allow you guys to collect the first-party data, and then with that first-party data, there's opportunities within advertising, obviously, which is what we talked about, but also within marketing, editorial, things like that. In terms of when we move up to the more sophisticated, level program.
Okay.
Yeah, the DMP holds all of that first-party data, so there's no real, there's nothing, you know, it's all built around the DMP from that standpoint. So that's what holds the data. That's where we build the audiences, that organization. That all happens within the DMP, and we then push it into AdX, into the programmatic channel to have it be monetized. Okay.
We have one more question here. If folks have other questions that haven't been answered, please type them in to the chat box right now. The last question we've got on tap is, so what's the mechanism by which revenue that's generated will be passed to the publishers? Is it going to be a simple credit on their monthly bill, or?
Yeah, it's going to be a monthly credit on your invoice. Yep. So what we do is we'll pay out so from the month it happens, 90 days, and then we'll pay out, and then it'll just be a credit on your invoice.
Okay. Will we send out the PowerPoint? Yes, we will. We're going to process the recording, and we will send an email to the recording early next week. The PowerPoint will also be attached to that, and also asking for an agreement to start the program. So if they want to start the program, what do they need to do?
Sure. So we have a couple of SOWs, or scopes of work, that relate to the program. So if anyone has a high level of interest, you can just send an email to dmp@townnews.com, and we can get you, so that's just dmp@townnews.com. And we can get you the contract information. But there's one SOW related to the data collection, and then one related to the use of to the ad ops and things like that. But we can get you all that information. Yeah, and if you guys need any more information, if you need us to present, to give the same demo to any additional members of your team, we'd be happy to do that as well.
And also, if you have further questions, you can contact your salesperson.
Absolutely.
With any questions. Okay, it looks like that is it for questions. Thanks, everybody. If you need to stay connected with us, as always, you can go to our documentation site, .blockcms.com. You can call support at 800-293-9576 or visit support.townnews.com. Our partner community is a great place to swap ideas and learn from other websites, learn what they're doing, and that's at community.townnews.com. And you can follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. You can also subscribe to our email communications. We've got the monthly Town News bulletin, software release notes, webinar announcements, and training department announcements. And you can do that by visiting townnews.com and clicking on the news link, and on the right-hand corner or the right-hand side of the page, you will see the Stay Connected box. So it's easy to sign up for all of that. It looks like no further questions have come in. So thank you very much, Wes. Great job.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate your time.
Thanks very much.